In our headlines on this Thursday, September 25th, here in South Korea, presiding over an open debate on AI at the UN Security Council, President Lee Jae-myung says South Korea will seek to advance global partnership to ensure that artificial intelligence becomes a tool for sustainable growth. Meanwhile, speaking to U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on the sidelines of his official UN agenda, President Lee Jae-myung maintains that bilateral trade talks should be commercially rational and satisfy mutual interests. Here on the local front, lawmakers across the aisle are locking horns yet again, and this time the standoff is centered on a controversial bill that could dismantle the prosecutor's office. President Lee Jae-myung calls for new international governance on artificial intelligence to ensure the technology supports and not sabotages mankind. Our top office correspondent Yoon Jung-min covers this year's AI debate at the UN Security Council, chaired by the South Korean leader.
In a time of emerging technology coupled with growing uncertainty, an international dialogue on AI took place at a major platform for multilateral diplomacy. As chair of a UN Security Council open debate, South Korean President Lee Jae-myung started off the session by explaining the significance of the gathering.
오늘날 인공지능 기술의 발전은 우리의 일상을 변화시키는 것을 넘어 국제적인 안보 환경까지 급격하게 변화시키고 있습니다. 이제 인공지능이라는 새로운 위협과 도전에 걸맞는 새로운 거버넌스를 모색해야 될 때입니다.
South Korea assumed the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council this month, and Lee is the first South Korean president to preside over the debate as chair. Drawing a parallel between AI and a tiger cub, President Lee urged the need to use AI to benefit humanity, not to harm it. He called for international unity to uphold the principle of responsible use of AI and emphasized the role of the Security Council, as well as Korea's contribution.
대한민국은 글로벌 책임 강국으로서 AI가 인류의 지속 가능한 미래를 만드는 훌륭한 도구가 될 수 있도록 국제사회와의 협력을 주도하는 길에 앞장설 것입니다.
The wake-up call was echoed by world leaders, including the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, noting the recent establishment of an international scientific panel on AI and a global dialogue on AI governance by the General Assembly.
I will soon launch an open call for nominations for the scientific panel. I also call on governments and stakeholders to engage fully in the global dialogue and to shape inclusive, human rights-based global norms.
Wednesday's session was organized under the theme of artificial intelligence and international peace and security. More international discussions on the future of AI will be held next month, when South Korea hosts the APEC leaders meeting in the city of Gyeongju. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News, New York.
South Korea's commitment to advancing responsible AI applications extends beyond the United Nations Security Council, as it has been hosting a number of related global forums in recent years. Our senior correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
Setting the agenda on artificial intelligence, South Korea is leading the global discussion on how to govern its risks and implications. President Lee Jae-myung's chairing of the United Nations Security Council open debate on Wednesday highlights the country's efforts to set universal standards on the all-pervasive technology, as rapid advances in AI presents both opportunities and challenges for international peace and security. This comes crucially at a time when larger powers are divided in geopolitical tension and rivalry, according to international relations expert Park Won-gon.
In this kind of a context, our President Lee Jae-myung's leading role in the AI is very important, because we could not see any kind of continue of the dialogue about how to restrain, limit the AI, because AI is such a powerful mean and powerful mechanism to change the human histories.
Seoul hosted the AI Safety Summit last year, bringing leaders together to establish that progress in AI should empower humanity. The Seoul Declaration sets out safety, innovation and inclusion as key pillars in AI development and calls for collaboration among countries, firms, academia and civil society to cultivate democratic AI ecosystems. In doing so, 16 global AI tech companies, including Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, and OpenAI, signed the Frontier AI Safety Commitments, which feature risk management, transparency, and accountability. On the security front, South Korea co-hosted 2 summits with the Netherlands on responsible AI in the military domain to develop global frameworks for the ethical application of AI in defense amid growing cyber and hybrid warfare. The 2 countries last year jointly tabled the first ever resolution on military AI, which was adopted with overwhelming support from 165 countries. Going forward, South Korea will once again host a global discussion among world leaders and CEOs at the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting in Gyeongju next month. According to the Foreign Ministry, Korea is drafting the APEC AI initiative, which will outline a shared regional vision on innovation-driven growth, strengthening capacity for AI transformation, and encouraging sustainable investment in AI infrastructure. The Foreign Ministry said Wednesday, building on the Yi administration's vision of contributing to a global AI-based society, Seoul will continue to participate in multilateral discussions as a leading country in global AI governance. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
Staying in New York, President Lee Jae-myung sat down with Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni on the margins of the UN General Assembly on Wednesday. He called for constructive cooperation with Italy in AI and in defense based on their strategic partnership. Prime Minister Meloni, for her part, shared hopes of visiting South Korea to tangibly advance their ties and invited President Lee Jae-myung to Italy. President Lee also met with Polish President Karol Nawrocki on the same day. They agreed to further expand cooperation in the defense industry, focusing on tanks. President Lee Jae-myung added hopes of boosting collaboration on Poland's submarine acquisition program. Meanwhile, President Lee's planned meeting with French President Emmanuel Macron was cancelled due to scheduling issues. Also on Wednesday, President Lee Jae-myung called for, quote, commercially rational bilateral trade talks during a meeting with U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Arirang's Song Yu-jin covers that exchange.
President Lee Jae-myung and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, one of the leading voices of the Trump administration's tariff strategy, met on Wednesday at South Korea's permanent mission to the United Nations. According to the president's chief of policy, Kim Yong-bum, Lee focused on South Korea's pledged $350 billion investment package, a key part of the negotiations to lower U.S. tariffs.
President Lee said he hopes the negotiations will move forward based on commercial rationality and in a way that benefits both countries. He also explained that South Korea differs significantly from Japan in terms of economic scale, foreign exchange reserves, and financial infrastructure, factors he hopes will be considered.
Trade talks have stalled over how that package should be structured. Washington is pushing for most of the investment to be made in cash, similar to the deal it reached with Japan, while Seoul prefers guarantees and loans to help ease its financial burden. $350 billion would account for more than 80% of South Korea's foreign exchange reserves. Japan, by contrast, holds more than double that amount and maintains a currency swap line with the United States. Because of that difference, President Lee has voiced concerns over a heavily equity-based investment without safeguards such as a currency swap.
Unlimited currency swap is a basic prerequisite. Without it, the shock to our economy would be far too great, such as a potential foreign exchange crisis that the president mentioned. If that issue isn't resolved, we simply can't move on.
Kim said Secretary Bessent responded by promising to discuss those concerns with the relevant agencies.
Now, the South Korea's auto exports continue to face 25% tariffs compared to 15% for Japan, following Tokyo's deal with Washington. Eyes are on how Seoul will conclude a trade agreement that is, quote, rational, mutually beneficial, and is in the national interest. 송유진, 아리랑 뉴스, New York.
And Washington says it's pushing ahead with a major liquefied natural gas project in Alaska and is now in talks with South Korean and Japanese companies and other firms in Asia to secure investment. According to U.S. Energy Secretary Chris Wright on Wednesday, the $40 billion project will begin within the next 12 months. He highlighted the short shipping routes to key U.S. allies, adding that the gas will be competitively priced with other LNG sources. Also, U.S. and Japanese officials are reportedly making arrangements for U.S. President Donald Trump to visit Japan next month. This is according to Reuters. Now, Mr. Trump's visit to Japan could take place ahead of his trip to Gyeongju here in South Korea for the APEC leaders meeting in late October. The visit to Tokyo, if it happens, would offer Mr. Trump the opportunity to meet with the successor to Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba, who is set to step down in early October. Lawmakers across the aisle are locking horns yet again, and this time the standoff is centered on a controversial bill that could dismantle the prosecutor's office. Our political correspondent Moon Hae-ryan reports.
The main opposition, People Power Party, is due to launch a filibuster at the National Assembly, blocking key legislation despite last-minute attempts between the floor leaders to strike a deal. During Thursday's plenary session, the ruling Democratic Party pushed forward 4 contentious bills, starting with a proposed amendment to the Government Organization Act. Under the plan, the prosecutor's office will be dismantled and replaced by 2 new agencies, one under the Ministry of Justice to handle indictments and the other under the Ministry of Interior to oversee investigations. The Finance Ministry, too, will be split into 2 different departments. The PPP called the move reckless, warning that it could cause chaos without a clear plan for current and future personnel. Meanwhile, the DP defended the bill as an essential reform to fulfill a campaign pledge.
Reorganizing the government is a necessary step to honor the administration's pledge to the people. We urge the opposition to cooperate so this reform can move swiftly.
It is a highly emotional, retaliatory restructuring. This hasty organizational overhaul is driven by hatred and a desire for revenge against prosecutors.
Before the session, ruling party, government and presidential officials held emergency talks, dropping plans to split the Financial Services Commission and create a new consumer protection agency. They said financial government should not become a political flashpoint, warning that uncertainty could hinder efforts to tackle economic crises. Under Assembly rules, a filibuster can be shut down after 24 hours with a 3/5 vote, limiting lawmakers to 1 bill a day. As a result, it will be aiming to pass its Government Organization Act amendments on Friday before turning to contentious bills on broadcasting and National Assembly rules. Moon Hae-ryan, Arirang News.
Seoul, meanwhile, is playing host to the country's annual Green Expo this week, with over 200 entities coming together to share a wide range of eco-friendly innovations. Our Moon Ji-young was there.
This year's ESG-ECO exhibition serves as a hub for innovations that aim to transform our waste into a valuable resource. Among these groundbreaking innovations, advanced resource circulation technologies garnered significant attention, particularly in waste sorting. One prominent example is AI-driven waste sorting robots.
Atron is an AI-based waste sorting robot that replaces the manual sorting of recyclable materials. When waste arrives on a conveyor belt, cameras in the vision box identify the type of waste, and robotic arms then sort it accordingly.
Likewise, other resource circulation recovery robots that pick up recyclable waste based on AI and IoT technology were also showcased, drawing considerable attention. The 3-day event, marking its 24th anniversary, opened in Seoul on Wednesday. Hosted by the Ministry of Environment and featuring 236 participating companies and organizations, it highlighted a range of eco-friendly innovations. For instance, the company Terracool demonstrates how it gives new life to waste plastics.
While plastics are formed by polymerization, we utilize depolymerization technology to break them down. We depolymerize polyester-based plastics and fibers, transforming them back into their raw materials, TPA and EG. Simply put, it's like turning discarded bread back into flour and water.
In addition, the EXPO showcases a diverse range of eco-friendly products and technologies related to our daily lives. Visitors can find everything from safety shoes made using recycled leather and discarded tires to innovative food tech solutions that leverage AI big data to not only cut down on food waste but also offer data-driven health management. Another impressive innovation includes a product that stores rainwater using a non-powered, electricity-free method, utilizing solar power for versatile applications such as cleaning, environmental use, and road maintenance. Such comprehensive efforts and ingenious solutions offer a glimpse into a greener future for the nation and beyond. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
Up next, we bring you the second installment in our special series of stories to celebrate South Korea's 30 years of diplomatic ties with Egypt. That being said, today, we touch upon the growing interest in K-pop and language among the young in Cairo. Our An Sung-jin reports from the ground.
In a dance studio in New Cairo, one of BTS's hit songs, Bulletproof, pulses through the floor. 6 dancers from local dance crew The Groove move in unison. It's more than choreography, it's a shared dream.
Just like from the first class, I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is gonna be my dream. I won't ever let go of it. What makes me passionate about it is how different and diverse it is.
A love for K-pop, and by extension for Korea, binds these performers together. Their journey reached a high note when they won first place at the Egyptian finals of the K-pop World Festival.
I wanted to show people what K-pop really is and spread it because it's special, unlike any other dance. I want to become a well-known dancer worldwide. It'll take time, but I'll keep practicing. I'm not going to stop.
Across Egypt, K-pop has become more than a niche fandom. Earlier this year, Cairo hosted its first ever K-pop concert, a milestone that reflects the genre's rising popularity. But the Korean wave is about more than just K-pop. The King Sejong Institute, a Korean language center, has opened its 3rd branch in Egypt this year, with growing demand fueled by curiosity in Korean culture. To understand the pull of Korea on Egypt's youth, I spoke with the Egyptian ambassador to Korea. Now we see from K-pop to the Korean language itself, what do you think drives this fascination among the Egyptian youth population to like Korea or to enjoy Korean culture so much?
These young Egyptians, they are keen to learn the Korean language because they are in love. They have passion for Korea through what they see in the media and in the drama. The Korean culture is very popular in Egypt.
But as the ambassador also mentioned, these cultural exchange could lead to economic benefits too.
This is very good for Korean companies seeking to establish their offices and representation office in Egypt, or even their factories for manufacturing and co-production in Egypt, to hire young Egyptians who can speak Korean and Arabic.
The bond between Korea and Egypt shows how far music, language, and stories can travel. Sometimes 9,000 kilometers straight to the heart. An Sung-jin, Arirang News, Cairo.
In other news, one South Korean county has been turning to rice paddy art to offer its young farmers a fresh source of revenue. Our Cha Yoon-kyung shows us how.
Budong, a Korean form of genre painting by Danwon Kim-hong-do, has been vividly recreated over vast rice fields. The images within Budong include a young boy dancing at the royal court or folk events, and has been depicted using 3 different colors of rice plants. Rice paddy art has been practiced around the Mungwang Reservoir in Gyeongsangun County, Chungcheongbuk-do Province since 2008. However, with the extraordinary heat waves and heavy rain this year, farmers have been struggling to work on the rice paddy art. But despite this adversity, a beautiful artwork has finally come out due to their patience and hard work.
It was quite hard to work on rice paddy art due to the raging heat, but I'm glad that the artwork seems great. I feel very proud that the art is getting better every year.
This rice paddy art technique, patented by Gyeongsang County, is now proving to be a valuable asset for the region. It is being shared with other local governments and is providing young farmers with a new source of income.
We need to nurture our young people. I'm glad the rice paddy art helps the young with a source of income.
Gyeongsang County also expects the rice paddy art to vitalize tourism in Chungcheongbuk-do province by associating it with the surrounding tourist spots. Cha Yoon-kyung, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. In the Middle East, a Houthi drone strike has wounded more than 20 people in Israel's Red Sea resort city of Eilat. Local officials say the drone launched from Yemen on Wednesday evening struck near a hotel and shopping area, causing structural damage. At least 22 people were injured, including 2 in critical condition. Israel's Air Force attempted an interception but failed to hit the drone. Authorities launched an investigation into the failure. The Houthis claimed responsibility, stating the strike successfully achieved its objectives. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz wished a full recovery to those injured in the strike and added that anyone who harms Israel will be harmed sevenfold. At a United Nations Climate Summit, Chinese President Xi Jinping has pledged that by 2035, China will cut its greenhouse gas emissions by 7 to 10% from their peak levels. Addressing a climate leaders event hosted alongside the UN General Assembly in New York via live video on Wednesday local time, Xi said that the new emissions reduction goal is part of China's updated national determined contributions under the Paris Agreement. He also outlined China's supporting commitments, including the expansion of installed wind and solar capacity to 3,600 gigawatts, which is over 6 times 2020 levels, and an increase in non-fossil fuels to more than 30% of total energy consumption by 2035. In his remarks, Xi criticized some countries for backing away from their climate commitments. The summit comes a day after U.S. President Donald Trump said climate change was a con job. In the United States, the return of Jimmy Kimmel's show after suspension broke viewership records on Tuesday. ABC reported 6.26 million viewers tuned in, marking the show's strongest ratings in over a decade. On social media and digital platforms, Kimmel's comeback monologue gathered over 26 million views. Kimmel addressed critics head-on, clarified earlier remarks, gave a defense of free speech, and pushed back against pressure from President Trump. Finally, Dutch gene therapy company Unicure and University College London announced on Wednesday that their experimental gene therapy has successfully slowed the progression of Huntington's disease, a rare inherited brain disorder, by 75% over 3 years. The therapy works by delivering a modified virus into the brain to silence the mutant gene that causes neuronal damage. Unicure will apply for a license for the first ever treatment drug in the U.S. early next year. Choi Ji-hee, Arirang News.
Unlike the cloudy mornings, Seoul has clear skies. Most of the rain in the Chungcheongdo provinces, the Gyeongsang-do provinces, and Jeju Island has stopped by the afternoon, but it will continue to rain until tomorrow evening in the Jeollado provinces. The amount of rainfall by the end of today is 20 to 60 millimeters in the Jeollado provinces. Tomorrow it will rain again in Gyeongsang-namdo province, the Jeollado provinces, and Jeju Island, and most parts of the country will have rain on Sunday, starting with the Chungcheongdo provinces and southern regions from Saturday. Seoul and Daejeon will start off at 18 degrees, Chuncheon at 15 degrees. Daily highs will rise to 27 degrees in Seoul, Daejeon, and Gwangju, 26 degrees in Chuncheon. With rain on Sunday, the daytime temperature in Seoul will drop to 22 degrees Celsius. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up next is our panel session. Do stay with us.